If there was anyone to be found on Santa's naughty list, it was surely Cindy's oldest sister, Maddie. Cindy was 8 and Maddie was 11 and had never said a nice thing to Cindy in her life. Or so it seemed.
Cindy's my favorite. Cindy's so pretty. Cindy this, Cindy that.
These were words from Maddie's mother that rang in her head through every day of the year, but especially around Christmas time, when Cindy was talking sweetly of gift-giving and decorating and loving her family and friends. Yeah, Cindy was sweet, but it was authentic. All she really wanted was to be loved by Maddie the way she herself loved Maddie. Since Cindy was a baby, Maddie never liked her. Some of Cindy's earliest memories revolved around the constant sideways glances she would receive from Maddie. Yes, the passive aggression, the endless competitions for Mum's affection. Cindy was always the one to receive it, but on certain days she would ask her mother to pay Maddie some attention.
Oh, your sister's fine,
her mother would say.
Your sister gets plenty of attention.
And after saying that, her mother would usually give Maddie a half-hearted pat on the head, and then go right back to giving Cindy all the affection a child would ever need. It left a hollow place in Cindy, and when she tried to give Maddie the love she so desperately needed, Maddie would shun Cindy as if she were a leper. Now this year, Maddie had been extra bitter. Perhaps it was the additional attention Cindy received from a performance in the school's Christmas play. Or maybe it was the way Mum constantly bragged about Cindy's acting.
She's the next Meryl Streep, I'm telling you.
As Cindy's mother would brag about. But whatever the reason, Maddie took every chance she saw to torment her younger sister. Cindy woke up one morning with gum in her hair. Another day she found that her underwear was soaked in honey. Her favorite dolls would go missing. The TV in her room, which Maddie wasn't allowed to have, was constantly unplugged. Yet Cindy's desire for her sister's acceptance continued throughout the month of December. She continued to be kind. She persisted in giving Maddie compliments when Mother did not. The gift at the top of Maddie's Christmas list was a brand new makeup kit. Cindy made sure that she would be the one to give it to Maddie come Christmas morning. Despite all this, Cindy had felt a wear and tear from all of Maddie's little torments throughout the month, and it all came to a breaking point on Christmas Eve. The family finally came by and sat at the dinner table, eating ham, mashed potatoes, and Christmas cookies. Cindy's mother had been bragging shamelessly all night about Cindy's acting. There was no mention of Maddie, not at any point. Maddie was stewing, and Cindy could see it. At one point, through all the bragging and praising and gloating, Maddie chimed in.
I don't think Cindy's acting is that good.
She said matter-of-factly. It was as if a bomb had gone off in the room. Everyone looked at Maddie like they were unsure they heard correctly. It was like blasphemy.
What kind of a thing is that to say?
Asked Mother, but Maddie shrugged.
I don't know.
said Maddie.
I just think you're exaggerating a little bit. I mean, she's decent.
All the memories of Maddie's little torments began to broil and fester in Cindy's mind. And now here was Maddie disparaging Cindy at the dinner table in front of the entire family. In front of all the aunts and uncles and cousins and friends. So Cindy spoke up.
At least I'm good at something.
Cindy blurted. And just like that, Maddie retracted into a pit of shame, Cindy's words ringing true and humiliating. Mother added fuel to the fire by shrugging at Maddie in a matter-of-fact manner.
Your sister's got a point,
said Mother. Cindy felt horrible as she watched Maddie sulk and trudge up towards the bathroom like a beaten dog. Cindy hated the power she held in her hands. That night, everyone hunkered down in their beds and waited for Santa to leave his gifts below the tree. But Cindy had trouble sleeping. It was midnight now. Cindy rarely found herself awake at this hour, but she knew why. Cindy removed her covers and hopped out of bed and tiptoed across the room. She was careful not to wake anyone. She opened her closet and grabbed Maddie's wrapped gift. She tiptoed down the dark hallway and dragged her fingers along the wall so as to not stumble around in the dark.
I'll give Maddie her gift and tell her I'm sorry and tell her that I love her.
Cindy thought to herself.
That's what I'll do. And she'll be happy and she'll forgive me and maybe she'll even say she loves me too.
But when Cindy arrived outside of Maddie's door, she heard strange shuffling noises coming from inside. Perhaps Maddie was preparing another prank for Cindy. No matter. Cindy was going to walk in and give Maddie her present and try to make amends. Cindy opened the door just a crack. She was careful not to startle Maddie. It was so dark inside the room and she couldn't see a thing. But she could hear a great deal of shuffling inside the room. Cindy stared into the room for quite some time, patiently waiting for her eyes to adjust to the gloom. When her eyes adjusted, she saw an empty bed. She saw Maddie's wide-open window. She saw a tall figure standing in the shadows. And she saw the rounded cage upon its back, where Maddie was sitting in it like a frightened bird. As Cindy's terrified eyes further adjusted to the dark, she saw this figure more clearly. It had a goat's head with large horns on top. Its eyes were red and impish and hostile. It wore a suit much like Santa Claus, and it even had jingling sleigh bells hanging from a few ends of the garments. Cindy stood frozen with fear as the creature glanced at her and gave her a nod and a wink. It made its way toward the window. As it did, the last Cindy saw of her sister was a look of fear and sadness and regret. And then the creature left, leaving Cindy standing there with the present in her hand. Down the chimney he will come with his big grin, and you'll find that all the kids are very liable to sin. What will Krampus say when he finds everybody sinning? What will Krampus say when he hears them sinning?
Yes, I know I'm a little late for Krampus knocked, but in my defense, I do believe that big, obese elf already has too much attention going on for this month, so I thought a little publicity to his goatish counterpart was in order. Speaking of that mythical farm animal, once again the tale of Krampus has been reimagined for the naive and impressionable amongst the mortals. This particular iteration has its charms, I suppose. A creature of primal justice snatching a bitter sibling from her bed, leaving regret and terror in its wake. And yet I find myself, unimpressed. Krampus, for all his theatrics and flair for the dramatique, appears to be nothing more but a brute. I find myself asking, where is the art in this, the subtlety? Maddie's torment, her bitterness wasn't really addressed, it was merely punished. Does the child learn? Does the cycle end? Or is it just another nightmare to haunt a family, leaving its roots of dysfunction firmly in place? Far be it from me to be a judge, but dispensing justice without understanding appears to me to be no justice at all. Still, I find that there is something to admire, notably the nod and wink to Cindy. Now that, at least, carries a glimmer of artistry. Fear paired with acknowledgement, an intimate brush with the unknown that will fester in her mind for years to come. Krampus, for all his faults, understands the weight of a lingering moment. And the concept itself, punishment for the cruel and the bitter, well, that has potential. Maddie's regret, however fleeting, hints at the possibility of change, even if the catalyst for it was rather crude. Mayhaps with a guiding hand, and if Krampus was willing to visit my office at some day, he could refine his methods, turning terror into something truly transformative. After all, fear is only as effective as the truths it reveals.